Welcome to day 8 of our 30 days of PM challenge. Today we are looking at a new topic, a new day, and a new framework to discuss and learn about. So, this is Jobs to be Done framework, also known as JTBD framework, sort of a tongue twister when you look at the acronym. But yeah, the Job to be Done framework is a very important framework in the product management space where it helps you look at the outcomes and not just think in terms of features but also think in terms of how things can be delivered to the users, not just in a functional way but also at an emotional level as to what impact a particular feature can provide a user and how do you go about researching the best way of building a particular feature or providing enhancements to your current product. So I'm Shagun, I'm part of Nonsense, and here we are covering our 30 days of PM and product management and talking about all things product management and what a typical day in a product manager life is like, where I share insights on new things that I learned through the series here and also from my experience working as a product manager at a B2B softwares organization and building products and scaling it from there. But yeah, JTBD was essentially one of the first frameworks you learn in the product management space and also when working on building products, right? And it helps understand the outcomes that you are trying to achieve and helps you focus on these outcomes rather than instead just having like a feature soup and list of features for you to build out of. You focus more on the outcomes that are a customer is expecting through a product, right? When a product is purchased or is used regularly by a customer, they are using it for solving a problem and doing a job for them that they feel like using the product would be easier. Can be hardware applied to context, whether it is a software product or a hardware product. You use it or you purchase it and hire it to do a job that makes your life easier. And to make your life easier, as humans, you don't purchase products just out of random. You do your own research and you come to a conclusion that yes, I have five options that can solve my use case or my problem, and out of the five I feel like these two make the most sense, but looking at price and other things, I decide on one over the other, and finally out of the five I choose one. There is a very good reason behind how customer behavior works when it comes to buying and hiring products to solve for a job, and we'll look at that through this series and through this post today, right, about jobs to be done framework, where essentially to begin with, here we have an example of a sneakers bar, right? To look at why was a sneaker bar actually hired for the purpose, you need to understand the outcome that a user was trying to achieve, right? You can talk about multiple things about the user in particular, have a lot of metrics around what the user is doing, what are they interested in, but at the end of the day, they are all the main motivation behind purchasing a product is because it solves a job for them and is doing the job it was meant to do in the first place that they were facing a problem with, right? So there is a small Harvard business review and video on the YouTube where they talk about why, for example, a user hires a milkshake to do a job over a Snickers bar or any sort of other snack, right? And they walk you through the process of, let's research using the jobs to be done framework, figure out what is the actual research and reasoning behind you a lot of users using milkshake as a meal of choice over other things. And this was in a real life scenario where they were working to improve the sales of milkshakes and are trying to understand how they can grow the business. So I'll just play the video and we can learn about why a milkshake is hired to do a job and how do you use the jobs to be done framework to build and focus on outcomes rather than just looking at product features and thinking of solutions to a problem.
Christensen. I'm a professor at the Harvard Business School. We decided that the way we teach marketing is at the core of what makes motivation difficult to achieve. The most helpful way we've thought of it so far is that we actually hire products to do things for us. And understanding what job we have to do in our lives for which we would hire a product is really the key to cracking this problem of motivating customers to buy what we're offering. So I wanted just to tell you a story about a project we did for one of the big fast food restaurants. They were trying to goose up the sales of their milkshakes. They had just studied this problem up the gazoo. They brought in customers who fit the profile of the quintessential milkshake consumer. They'd give them samples and ask, could you tell us how we can improve our milkshakes so you buy more of them? Do you want it chocolatey or cheaper, chunky or chewier? They get very clear feedback. They would then improve the milkshake on those dimensions, and it had no impact on sales or profits whatsoever. So one of our colleagues went in with a different question on his mind, and that was, I wonder what job arises in people's lives that cause them to come to this restaurant to hire a milkshake. So we stood in a restaurant for 18 hours one day and just took very careful data. What time did they buy these milkshakes? What were they wearing? Were they alone? Did they buy other food with it? Did they eat it in the restaurant or drive off with it? It turned out that nearly half of the milkshakes were sold before 8 o'clock in the morning. The people who bought them were always alone. It was the only thing they bought, and they all got in the car and drove off with it. So to figure out what job they were trying to hire it to do, we came back the next day and stood outside the restaurant so we could confront these folks as they left milkshake in hand. And in language that they could understand, we essentially asked, excuse me please, but I got to sort this puzzle out. What job were you trying to do for yourself that caused you to come here and hire that milkshake? And they'd struggle to answer, so we then helped them by asking other questions like, well, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done, but you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire? And then as we put all of their answers together, it became clear that they all had the same job to do in the morning, and that is they have a long and boring drive to work. And they just needed something to do while they drove to keep the commute interesting. One hand had to be on the wheel, but somebody had given them another hand and there wasn't anything in it. And they just needed something to do while they drove. They weren't hungry yet, but they knew they'd be hungry by 10 o'clock, so they also wanted something that would just pump down there and stay for their morning. Good question. What do I hire when I do this job? You know, I've never framed the question that way before, but last Friday I hired a banana to do the job. Take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in 3 minutes, you're hungry by 7:30. If you promise not to tell my wife, I probably hire donuts twice a week, but they don't do it well either. They're gone fast, they crumb all over my clothes, they get my fingers gooey. Sometimes I hire bagels, but as you know, they're so dry and tasteless. Then I have to steer the car with my knees while I'm putting jam on them, and then if the phone rings, we've got a crisis. I remember I hired a Snickers bar once, but I felt so guilty I've never hired Snickers again. Let me tell you, when I come here and hire this milkshake, it is so viscous that it easily takes me 20 minutes to suck it up that thin little straw. Who cares what the ingredients are? I don't. All I know is I'm full all morning and it fits right here in my cup holder. Well, it turns out that the milkshake does the job better than any of the competitors, which in the customer's minds are not Burger King milkshakes, but it's bananas, donuts, bagels, Snickers bars, coffee, and so on. But I hope you can see how, if you understand the job, how to improve the product becomes just obvious.
So yeah, I think understanding the job makes improving things obvious is what the video ended with, and that's pretty real in terms of when you are building these products. You have to keep in mind and think about what job are you actually trying to solve for the customer, right? And in this case, we were looking at milkshake doing the job better than a Snickers bar or like a donut or a banana, where out of all the competition that a milkshake had, it did the job best and ticked all the boxes a customer was trying to achieve as as they are going to their job that needed to be done every day. and it was sold out for a particular time. So a lot of the times, jobs to be done framework helps you get to the outcome or the core reason through research and analysis, and asking great questions and figuring out what obvious needs to be changed or improved for the business to work and grow. So what insights, for example, this business could have taken? They now know that at 8 a.m. everything around milkshakes is being sold out. So probably have improved their menu categories when it comes to milkshakes, provide better options and scale it from there, and essentially provide users with the delight and the reason why they actually wanted to purchase milkshakes over other snacks or other foods of choice as they are heading towards their job. And as a PM, you are responsible to uh, provide features or provide enhancements to your customers where their jobs become easier, right? And there are multiple articles by Harvard and Harvard Business Review and for all their YouTube videos. But yeah, I think in essence, it is helping, and what we really are looking at here is understanding the job and then improving, making iterations on it through research and building it from there, right? Because jobs to be done doesn't really, it helps you do research when building a solution, and it tries to frame, and it makes you focus on the problem at hand by framing it in a way that not just talks about the problem at hand but also looks at solutions and how best to achieve them based on the emotional and functional requirements a customer has. In this case with milkshake, all of these people drove to their work location and had no time to, in a sense, prepare a meal, put jam on bagels and things like that, but also have a full stomach while they reach it, but not end too quickly because they want to feel the joy of having food, and have and it lasting for a while to make it worthy of a diet or a plan, right? So that was it about how the milkshake problem and why users hire a milkshake to do a job over other options they already have. So a lot of the times it's understanding these motivations that make them purchase or make them go for X product over Y or your product over others, right? And having a grip of this is very important. It's not just talking to the customers but also understanding how the market is in these segments, right? It might be that people driving to this their work office have this one outlet that is available during the day and the only option they have is milkshakes. That can be the reason. There can also be other options for them where they could probably have a combination of these things, right? Have a milkshake but also have a banana at hand, right? While they walk to their work location. But yeah, these are things and options that you can always improve and build on, but this was a simple example when it came to milkshakes and why hire a specific milkshake over other options you had. But yeah, we also have an excerpt from HBR which talks about uh, jobs to be done in essence. But yeah, it helps use products in certain situations when they want to achieve a specific outcome because of some reasons that act as motivations. And one way to figure out motivations of a customer and why they are asking for X feature and what is the motivation behind it is to build these things called empathy maps. Empathy maps are essentially a grid of things where you jot down a note about what a person, so build like a grid and have the user at the center, and you have their says, what they think, what do they do for a particular problem to be solved, and what problem are they solving, and what does that impact, what are the other impacts that they have using the product, and how they feel when a problem is arise, and how do they would like to have the problem be resolved, and how would they feel then, right? So creating these empathy maps helps create a better way to like look at the motivations of a customer, and this can be one way for you to look at all these things and improves your the ability to question your customers and improve and iterate, because questions are very important when looking at jobs to be done and in customer research in general. But yeah, using empathy maps is a great way to do that, and the jobs to be done framework, and combining that with 5 whys It's like a great way for you to come to a root cause, figure out the problem, understand the outcomes they would like to, they are trying to achieve, and then look at the focus and focus on solutions. Then a lot of the times we very quickly jump into solutions and thinking of options of, yeah, we could add like a button here, we could do X or Y, but at the end of the day, before you, and we are tuned to think of solutions, right? We have survival instincts as humans, and we are always looking to the best, to the easiest path forward, that has minimum resistance and can provide us with the solution we want to. But as a, and that's not scalable in the long term, and you always will have to make iterations and improvements. So it's better to spend time at the beginning during the discovery and the research than having to do things at the end moment and not even meeting the needs of the customers, right? I mean, as Einstein also said, if you give me an hour, give me a problem and an hour to think about a solution, I'll spend the first 59 minutes to just think of the problem at hand, and then the last a minute to figure out the solution to that best complements the problem at hand. I mean, there are axing and other metaphors as well, but yeah, uh, a great way to do that is think a lot in the problem space than at the solution end of things, right? And you have this diagram which essentially talks about how this framework can be approached and how you can understand users and their motivations, right? You can try them, you can frame these problems in a series of, when I use this product, I want to add the ability to automatically send me reminders to complete a task so I can optimize and be more productive on the job during my job hours. So, this is a simple example of how you would frame your problems in the product space. Also, when writing stories or product stories for a specific feature, you start out with a statement which is also in a similar format, where you tell, as a user, I mean whatever role of the user is, as a CEO, I want the ability to do X and Y so that I achieve Z goal. So this is a way to I mean, structure thought and structure writing and content such that it gives, so you can have this as like the opening piece of your product requirements, and then provide more details as to what individual items or checklists that you have for you to achieve that problem statement to be solved, and then criteria, acceptance criteria in a sense, for you to validate all the changes that you requested for through the requirements are actually met through the and validated using these acceptance criteria, which also has a similar statement format where you can, so when X happens, I want to see Y appear on my screen so that this is validated, right? So there are multiple of these frameworks and ways to structure content and thought and problems in general. But yeah, one of the most common ones is, when I want to, so that I can do something else. So yeah, and there are frameworks that are used by multiple organizations. Frameworks, in essence, there will be multiple. We, in just 8 days of the 30 days of PM, we have already looked at two frameworks here: five whys and jobs to be done. There were multiple frameworks which will come in the prioritization phase of things. You also have frameworks just with problem solving and how do you research better, which is a way of looking at, you have like a madman approach of looking at every possible option, curating them, crafting them, and as like a carpenter, you build and put things together to eventually then build an output which can be a chair, a table, and then present it to your customers, right? So there are multiple models and frameworks to think about it, and you have multiple resources also linked through these 30 days of PM, and I'll also link them in the YouTube video and the description of the video. But yeah, one of the best ways to implement this framework is also from Facebook, and how the product teams at Facebook do that, where it's essentially an extension of this framework here, where there is one extra step, right, where you could put anything between the words and for a problem that you face. For example, when I open YouTube, I when I have not, let's not take example of YouTube. Let's take an example that is within the stories. But yeah, when you have a certain problem, you provide some context around it. And but when I'm using Gmail, but I feel an overwhelming number of emails that I need to go through, help me organize my mail better using can be X or Y, and probably a suggestion from the customer. Help me organize my emails better so I can prioritize what needs my attention first and focus on the rest later. So this is one simple statement when it came to Gmail, where I have a flood of emails that come to me every day, but I need a way to, but it just is impossible for me to manage the amount of emails I'm getting per day. I want to hire your product, or I'm potentially looking to hire your product to help me organize my email better, which is my goal, so that the outcome would be I can get people their updates earlier based on the request that they have sent, and get to them quicker, and essentially help me improve my time and organize my day better in getting the most amount of value in the least amount of time. So I want to be more productive, which is my outcome. The goal was to organize data. The barrier is that I don't see a way, or it is not intuitive enough for me to organize this data. And the context is that I get multiple emails from multiple clients on a daily basis. So this is an awesome framework for you to look at. And for each of these steps, the context, you can go to your customers, and you have, if you have multiple customers requesting for a feature, you can ask them for more context, as and then use the five whys here, right? To get, okay, why do you get a lot of these emails? Do you not have separate emails tracking separate things, or have you clubbed your personal email and also your work email together, and you get a lot of spam requests, right? Have you tried? And this can help you come to a better solution. And I mean, it's not, the point is not to get to the solution the quickest, but having the best context and going over options with customers and being frank with them and talking about the things available and the approaches that are available to solve for this use case. And in each step you can use the five eyes here, get define a very clear goal and get to the root cause. And using the jobs to be done framework, you know what outcome the customer is trying to look at, or the end goal the customer is trying to achieve. And this is also an approach very popular with Amazon, where I think in one of our previous team we discussed, where they have always think about the end and keep the end in mind and start from the end, right? So there is this very famous book called Working Backwards from the executives at Amazon, which talks about how Amazon starts backwards, where in, for example, a product feature to be built, they first think of how the press release for that feature would look like, even before thinking of the solution, or uh, I mean, building the product or building the solution at hand, right? They think of how the press release for that product would look like, and then iterate it from there, where the messaging in the PR has been built a certain way, which helps you backtrack into framing the problem better and also building the solutions better. So yeah, this there are multiple frameworks, and jobs to be done helps you think of outcomes, helps you research better, like we looked at in the video, and get more context on the user, have the functional and also the emotional needs of the customer figured out, and build the solution from there. And this is another matrix which helps in the jobs to be done framework. For example, you have 10 requests, and you have done your jobs to be done for all of these requests that have been requested from customers, and now you're looking at mapping them on a board, on a grid, which essentially is on the market gap and the market demand axis, where you always want to optimize for things that have high demand and have a lot of gap, which helps you essentially build a competitive advantage. You can also have more grids here where you can, the market cap could be small, medium, large, and things like that, and the market demand can also be low, medium, and high. But yeah, 4 by 4 grid is perfectly fine to do that. And for example, low opportunity is things that don't have, that is very saturated, and either it can be very saturated and you don't have an entry way, or the market has very low demand for that specific feature, and the amount of gap that you have to enter is also low. So that becomes a tricky situation, and probably for you to avoid, to be top of your list to think about and solve for. In the high gap and the low market option, you want to achieve, make sure that the low market approach, low market opportunity becomes a high market demand. And if you foresee that, and if you can predict that by talking to customers and getting more insights from competitive intel and things like that, you always want to push it towards the top, where uh, even, or if you have low market demand but a high gap, you try to monetize that as your advantage, right? So everything towards the right is better, but the top right is essentially the meat of where you want to focus on and build solutions for. And this is a great grade for you to look for and prioritize for. Sometimes things might be at the center, but you have, and you might have to take calls there and uh, have either, if you have data to back your decisions, to move them into like a high opportunity bucket and open jobs bucket, or if you have, and you, if not data to validate that, you can probably make some guesses and some judgments and then iterate and improve, like we discussed in the continuous product discovery phase. So yeah, this is jobs to be done framework in essence. And you can have prod, if for example the end goal for you is, the outcome is essentially to frame a picture on the wall. The product can be multiple things. It can be a hammer, it can be an electric machine that drills holes and can screw things on the walls. And the tool you are essentially, the product that you're trying to build depends on the customer. If the customer has pretty urgent demand for the product and is also available to spend extra cash over using hammer, and they don't want to go through the labor of using the hammer, and you have the scope to build uh, an electric machine that can do the, I mean, screwing of bolts into walls, build that, right? So jobs to be done essentially makes you think of about the outcome, which is about putting the image on the wall, and through your product and the tool, through screws, you can then screw it and use ways to proceed and build the solution for the customer and get the job done for them, right? And you can have multiple examples of that. Here is examples from Discord, where what they want to do, what is Discord's jobs to be done, right? For example, what is the jobs to be done for this live stream that you're watching, or this video that you're watching, right? The job to be done is a sense for me to explore options, for me to grow, not necessarily explore options, but for me to learn and grow in the product management space. But I don't have the resources that are available, or I don't have something that is continuous or has like a schedule attached to it. uh, and using helping me here is the 30 days of PM for me to force myself to learn things about product management, and that essentially becomes my outcome, and grow in the product role from here, right? So that is my outcome. My outcome is essentially looking for ways to grow in the product management space and learn more things about it. And helping me here is the 30 days of PM challenge and this YouTube, and where I research and learn and share things here, where earlier I had a barrier where I did not have the resources available to me. Even if I did, there was no way for me to present it. And through the 30 days of PM challenge and the format, I'm able to do so. And and that helps me because I don't have a lot of time to spend because of the day job and all the other things going on. But this limited segment of time that I've scheduled for the next 30 days helps me prioritize and focus better. So yeah, that is my jobs to be done with these live streams, and you could say so. But that in essence covers jobs to be done as a whole. You look at outcomes, you figure out the end goal, and as figuring while figuring out the end goal, you do a lot of research, a lot of thinking, a lot of questioning, questions and answers, and lot of problem problem discovery, problem analysis, researching, and all of that to eventually build the solution. Maybe you don't even need to build a solution. You probably have things that you now understand the outcome, and you probably can recommend another approach which gets to the outcome quicker and is also efficient in its current existence. And if not, you have ways for you to then think of, with all the data using jobs to be done, think of the right way to build solutions for customers to reach their end goal and hire your product to do that job on a regular basis. But yeah, you have multiple resources here that were linked. You have this Harvard Business Review article which talks about how you can know your customers, KYC, and the jobs to be done for them, right? Then this first round article is very good, where it talks about, they make multiple statements where, for example, this was the Discord JTBD we looked at earlier in the post. You have Peloton, you have other things. But yeah, stepping back, it helps you with jobs to be done. You can step back, have with the deeper context, which is essentially when part of your jobs to be done framework in the format we looked at earlier, and make more decisions and predict what can go right, what can go wrong for a specific customers. But yeah, this is the jobs to be done framework and a template that you can use, where a clear JTBD helps you communicate with clarity, helps you focus and target a specific group of audience, and clear any barriers or any misunderstandings that you have along the way, right? So yeah, to take a look at this resource as well, you have resources from Intercom where they talk about the product, the outcome through the JTBD framework, where the product is can be, as I was telling earlier, is to build a product which helps screw walls and helps. I mean, using the product and the use of screws, you get to an outcome where walls are filled with images and frames that can be hanged using your product, which was hired to do the job and it did it well. So yeah, there are multiple resources here. I'll also link all of them in the YouTube description and share them with you guys. But yeah, that's mostly it. You can read all these resources which are linked, where as using the JTBD, as we've already talked, you focus on outcomes than outputs or features in a sense for a specific user, and their problem to be solved for, right? So this is another great diagram which talks about, you have the desires of a customer figured out, you have the limitations that they have currently, what is forcing them, or what are the catalysts that are moving them to push us to, for example, build a feature, and then have a set of solutions. Once you combine all of these, you can sort of, you have magic here once you have answers to all these questions, and then you can do your own magic of figuring out the job to be done here, and then evaluating, building solutions, what are the options, talking with your engineering, talking with all the stakeholders, defining timelines, building them as part of PRDs and stories for engineering to take up. And then you have something to offer your customers that can solve their workflow and can hire your product to solve for that uh, issue, and go from there. But yeah, that's been JTBD framework. Do follow us on Twitter and YouTube, where we'll continue covering 30 days of PM and also future lessons around how product management and product marketing in essence works. And yeah, that's been it. Talk to you soon. Talk to you tomorrow on another iteration of 30 days of PM. Till then, goodbye, take care, and have a great day. Thank you.